Commander Vex Karan had seen many species surrender in his 300 cycles of conquest. The way they begged, pleaded, offered their young as tribute. The standard protocol was almost boring by now. Almost. But this was different. The human female stood alone in the center of what remained of New Geneva Station, surrounded by the twisted metal and sparking circuits that his battle cruiser Void Render had left behind. The rest of her kind had either fled or been vaporized. Yet here she was, hands casually tucked into the pockets of her strange blue garment, watching his approach with what could only be described as amusement. "Interesting," Vex Karan rumbled through his translator, his forearms flexing as his massive frame approached. At 9 feet tall, with chitinous armor naturally grown from his exoskeleton, he had never encountered a being that didn't immediately cower. "You do not flee, small creature." The human tilted her head. Her name tag read, Dr. Maya Fortuna, in those peculiar human script symbols. "Flight's overrated. Besides, where exactly would I go? You've got, what, 50 ships out there?" 53, actually. But who was counting? "You should be terrified," he stated, genuinely puzzled. His species, the Corvani, were apex predators. Evolution had designed them for one purpose: to hunt, to kill, to dominate. Their very presence triggered primal fear responses in 97% of known species. The remaining 3% were usually too stupid to recognize danger. This human, she didn't seem stupid. Maya shrugged, a gesture that somehow conveyed both indifference and confidence. "Terror's a waste of energy. You're going to do whatever you're going to do regardless of my emotional state. So why not stay calm and see what happens?" Vex Karan's mandibles clicked in confusion. In 3 centuries, no prey had ever spoken to him like this, as if they were equals having a casual conversation, as if a creature barely reaching his chest could somehow match his power. "You speak strangely for one about to die," he growled, circling her slowly. His massive claws scraped against the metal floor, leaving deep gouges. "Do you not understand your position, human?" "Oh, I understand perfectly." Maya turned to keep facing him as he moved, her movements fluid and relaxed. Big, scary alien conqueror, tiny, helpless human scientist. David and Goliath situation, right? Except... She paused, and for the first time, her smile took on a different quality. Something predatory. "You might want to reconsider who's who in that story." The audacity was refreshing. Vex Karan found himself almost enjoying this conversation. It had been so long since prey had provided entertainment. "Enlighten me," he said, stopping directly in front of her. His shadow engulfed her completely. "What could you possibly possess that would concern me?" Maya's grin widened. "Well, for starters, you might want to check your ship's systems right about now." As if on cue, his communication implant crackled to life. "Commander, we're experiencing multiple system failures across the fleet. Navigation, weapons, life support, everything's going haywire." Vex Karan's 4 eyes fixed on the human with sudden intensity. "What have you done?" "Me?" Maya's voice dripped with mock innocence. "I'm just a xenobiologist. What could I possibly know about advanced spacefaring technology?" She paused, examining her fingernails with exaggerated casualness. "Though I did publish a few papers on quantum viral programming back in my spare time. Boring stuff, really. Mathematical theorems, self-replicating code architectures, methods for infiltrating alien computing systems through their own sensor arrays." The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. "The scans. When we analyzed your station, yep, every single probe you sent gathered data, all right. Unfortunately for you, that data came with a little extra something. Think of it as a Trojan horse, except instead of soldiers, it carried a virus specifically designed to target the computing architecture of exactly your species. This was impossible. Humans were a primitive species. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. They should not possess technology capable of infiltrating Corvani systems that had been perfected over millennia. Impossible, Vex-Karen snarled. Your species lacks the knowledge to what? To understand your technology? Maya laughed, and the sound was somehow more chilling than any battle roar he had ever heard. Commander, we've been studying your people for 3 years, ever since your first scout ships started poking around human space. Did you really think we'd just sit around waiting for you to show up? Another voice crackled through his communicator. Commander, we've lost main engines on 3 ships. The virus is spreading faster than our countermeasures can adapt. Maya nodded approvingly. Ah, there it is. See, the beautiful thing about quantum viral architecture is that it learns and evolves faster than conventional defenses. The more you try to fight it, the stronger it gets. Kind of like. She gestured at herself. Well, us. Vex-Karen felt something he had not experienced in decades. Uncertainty. This small, fragile creature had somehow turned his overwhelming advantage into a liability. But surely this was just a delaying tactic. Even if you disable our fleet, he rumbled, I am still here. I can still tear you apart with my bare claws. Oh, absolutely, Maya nodded cheerfully. You could totally do that. You're faster, stronger, and have 4 arms to my 2. Natural-born killer versus squishy human scientist. No contest whatsoever. She was agreeing with him, but somehow that made him feel less confident rather than more. However, she continued, before you do that, you might want to consider the bigger picture. Speak. Maya gestured around the ruined station. You came here expecting easy conquest, weak human resistance, right? Probably figured you'd steamroll through our defenses, occupy our worlds, add us to your empire like you've done with dozens of other species. That is the plan, yes. How's that working out so far? Vex-Karan's mandibles clicked in irritation. His fleet was currently crippled by a virus he had never seen before, designed by a species he had dismissed as primitive. Not exactly the smooth conquest he had envisioned. This is one station, one human. You cannot protect your entire species. Can't I? Maya's smile returned, but now it was sharp as a blade. Tell me, Commander, what's the first rule of warfare? Know your enemy. Exactly. And you know what you don't know about humans? She leaned forward slightly, and for a moment, despite the massive size difference, it felt like she was looming over him. We don't just fight with fists and weapons. We fight with our minds. We adapt. We innovate. We turn your own strengths against you. As if to emphasize her point, another urgent message crackled through. Commander, the virus has reached our weapon systems. All plasma cannons are offline. Repeat, we are completely defenseless. You see, Maya continued conversationally, while you were busy conquering primitive species with overwhelming force, we were studying you, learning how you think, how you fight, how your technology works, and then we prepared accordingly. This is one trick, one clever trap. It will not save your species when the full might of the Corvani Empire arrives. Maya's expression became almost pitying. Oh, sweetie, you still don't get it, do you? She pulled out a small device from her pocket. It looked completely innocuous, like a human communication tool. "This isn't a trap. This is a test." She pressed a button. Immediately, every functional screen in the ruined station flickered to life, displaying the same image. A star map showing the current positions of every Corvani fleet in this sector of space. "Right now," Maya said cheerfully, "every single one of your ships in human space is experiencing similar system failures. 37 fleets, over 2,000 vessels, all simultaneously crippled by variants of the same virus, each one custom-designed for the specific ship classes in that fleet." Vexcaran stared at the displays in growing horror. This was not possible. The coordination required, the intelligence gathering, the sheer audacity of launching a simultaneous cyber attack across an entire sector. "You see, Commander, humans have this thing called pattern recognition. When we spotted your first scout ships 3 years ago, we immediately started tracking all of them. Every ship, every route, every communication. We mapped your entire operational structure before you even knew we existed." She gestured at the screens showing disabled Corvani vessels. "And then we waited. Because the thing about being underestimated? It gives you one hell of an advantage." Another communication burst through, this one from High Command. "All units, we are under coordinated attack. Repeat, all units across Sector 7 are experiencing simultaneous system failures. This is not a drill." Maya clicked her tongue sympathetically. "Sounds like your bosses are having a bad day. Probably wondering how a primitive species managed to turn their entire invasion fleet into expensive space debris." Vexcaran's forearms trembled with rage and confusion. Everything he understood about warfare, about conquest, about the natural order of strong over weak was crumbling around him. "What do you want?" he growled. "Want?" Maya looked genuinely surprised by the question. "Oh, I don't want anything from you, Commander. This isn't a negotiation. This is a demonstration." She gestured around the ruined station again. "You destroyed this place, thinking it would show us human weakness. Instead, you've just shown every species in this galaxy what happens when humans get serious." The communication implant crackled again. "Commander Vexcaran, this is Admiral Thax Morden. All fleets are to withdraw immediately and regroup at staging area Omega. We are declaring this sector temporarily unviable for conquest." Maya's grin could have powered a small star. And there it is, the mighty Corvani Empire, retreating from a species they thought was weak. But Vexcaran was not ready to concede defeat. Even if his fleet was crippled, even if his empire was retreating, he was still here, still dangerous. This small human had humiliated his entire species, and that demanded response. "You may have won this battle," he snarled, raising his claws. "But I can still tear you apart. I can still claim some victory from this disaster." Maya looked at his raised claws with what appeared to be genuine curiosity rather than fear. "You could try, but before you do, I have a question for you. Speak quickly. Earlier, you said I should be terrified because you're a natural predator, an apex hunter. Evolution designed you to kill." Her voice remained perfectly calm, almost academic. "But tell me, Commander, what do you think evolution designed humans for?" The question caught him off guard. What? "Think about it," she continued. "We're not the fastest species, not the strongest. No natural weapons, no armor, no venomous bite or crushing jaw. So what evolutionary advantage could we possibly have that let us survive long enough to reach the stars?" Vexcaran found himself actually considering the question. It was true that humans seemed remarkably average, physically speaking. Maya's smile turned absolutely predatory. "We're persistence hunters, Commander. We don't kill our prey by being stronger or faster. We kill it by never, ever giving up, by adapting to whatever it throws at us, by turning every failure into a learning experience and every enemy into a case study." She took a step closer, and somehow that made her seem larger rather than smaller. "Your species conquers through overwhelming force. Ours conquers through overwhelming patience. You hit hard and fast, expecting immediate surrender. We study, adapt, and hit back in ways you never see coming." The realization was dawning on him now, a cold certainty that made his exoskeleton feel suddenly fragile. "So when you ask if I'm afraid of you," Maya continued, "the answer is no, because you're not my predator, Commander. I'm yours." Before he could fully process that statement, she pressed another button on her device. Every piece of remaining technology in the station went completely silent. "Emergency systems offline," Maya announced cheerfully. "Environmental controls offline. Communication systems offline. Even your fancy translator is about to—" Vex Karan's translator gave a small electronic whine and went dead. They stood in absolute silence for a moment, facing each other in the dim emergency lighting. Then Maya spoke again, but now her voice carried strange new tones that his species' auditory system was not designed to process. She was speaking in her natural human language, and somehow, impossibly, he found that he could understand her. Not through technology, through something far more primitive and terrifying: pattern recognition. Maya had been studying Corvani vocal patterns throughout their entire conversation, learning the basic structure, the rhythm, the meaning behind the sounds. And now she was using that knowledge to communicate in a way that bypassed all technological barriers. Pure intelligence. Raw adaptation. The kind of mental agility that his species had never developed because they had never needed to. "The beautiful thing about being human," she said in her natural voice, somehow making the alien sounds comprehensible through sheer force of contextual intelligence, "is that we don't just learn from our own experiences. We learn from everyone else's, too." She gestured at his frozen form. "Right now, every detail of this conversation is being recorded and analyzed by human xenopsychologists. Your body language, your vocal patterns, your decision-making process. By tomorrow, we'll understand your species better than you understand yourselves." The implications hit him like a plasma bolt to the chest. If humans could decode and predict Corvani behavior patterns, every conquest you've ever made, Maya continued, every species you've defeated, every tactical advantage you've relied on, all of it will be reverse-engineered, analyzed, and turned against you. She paused, tilting her head in that peculiarly human gesture that he was beginning to realize meant, "I'm about to tell you something you really don't want to hear. Tell me, Commander, how long do you think your empire will last when every species you've ever conquered suddenly has access to detailed psychological profiles of their conquerors? When they know exactly how you think, exactly how you'll react to any given situation, exactly which buttons to push to make you make mistakes." Vex Karan tried to speak, but found that his voice had abandoned him entirely. Maya smiled one more time, and this smile was gentle, almost sad. "You came here to measure us up, Commander, to see if humans were worth conquering." She spread her arms wide, encompassing the ruined station around them. "Well, what's your assessment?" Vex Karan's throat felt as dry as the vacuum of space. For the first time in his 300 cycles of existence, He was genuinely afraid. Not of death. Death was simple, predictable. He was afraid of what this small human represented. "You want my assessment?" he finally managed to rasp in broken human syllables. "You are dangerous." Maya laughed, but it wasn't the mocking sound he expected. It was warm, almost friendly. "Dangerous? Oh, Commander, you haven't seen anything yet." She walked over to a partially collapsed section of the station wall and sat down casually, patting the space next to her like she was inviting him for a friendly chat. "Come on, sit down. Your legs must be getting tired standing there looking all intimidating." The suggestion was so absurd that Vexkaran found himself actually considering it. A Corvani commander, sitting beside his prey like they were old friends sharing stories. His military training screamed that this was psychological warfare at its finest. He sat down anyway. Maya nodded approvingly. "Much better. Now, let me tell you a story about humans, Commander. A real story. Not the propaganda your intelligence services probably fed you." She gazed up at the damaged ceiling where stars were visible through the holes torn by his weapons. 50,000 years ago, we were just another species of scared primates hiding in caves, terrified of every shadow, every sound in the night. Know what we were afraid of? Vexkaran found himself genuinely curious, despite everything. What? Everything. Maya's voice took on a storytelling cadence. Saber-toothed cats, cave bears, volcanic eruptions, ice ages, disease, starvation. The universe was trying to kill us every single day, and we had absolutely no natural defenses against any of it. She turned to look at him directly. But instead of going extinct like we probably should have, you know what we did? What? We got angry. The way she said it made Vexkaran's exoskeleton tingle with unease. Not just angry, Maya continued. We got creatively, persistently, innovatively angry. Every time the universe tried to kill us, we said, "Not today," and figured out a way to kill it right back. She counted off on her fingers. Predators hunting us? We invented spears, then bows, then guns. Ice Age freezing us? We discovered fire, built shelters, invented agriculture. Disease killing us? We developed medicine, vaccines, antibiotics. Each time something tried to wipe us out, we came back stronger. Maya paused, letting that sink in. Do you see the pattern, Commander? He did see it, and it terrified him more than any weapon ever could. Humans don't just survive extinction events, she continued. We thrive because of them. Every crisis becomes a catalyst. Every enemy becomes a teacher. Every defeat becomes data for the next victory. A new voice suddenly echoed through the station, not through technology, but carried by the air itself. Human voices, singing in harmony from somewhere deep in the ruins. Maya smiled at his confused expression. Oh, did I forget to mention? This station wasn't evacuated. Most of the civilian population is hiding in the reinforced lower levels. They've been listening to our entire conversation through the internal communication system. Vexkaran's 4 eyes widened in horror. You broadcast this? To your people? Every single word. By now, this conversation has been transmitted to every human colony, every ship, every outpost in known space. Her grin turned absolutely wicked. Congratulations, Commander. You're about to become the most famous alien in human history. Why would you? Because information is the most powerful weapon in the universe, Maya interrupted. And you just gave us a complete psychological profile of your species' command structure, tactical thinking, and cultural assumptions. Every question you asked, every assumption you made, every reaction you had, it's all data. She gestured toward where the singing was coming from. Those people down there. They're not just civilians. They're anthropologists, psychologists, military strategists, and xenobiologists. They've been taking notes this entire time. Vex Karan felt his world crumbling even further. This was all planned? Not planned exactly, prepared for. Maya's voice became almost gentle, like a teacher explaining a difficult concept to a slow student. See, we knew that eventually someone like you would show up. Some big, scary alien species looking to add humanity to their collection of conquered worlds. She stood up and began pacing, her movements energetic and excited. So we asked ourselves, what would be the most effective way to deal with that threat? Direct military confrontation? Too expensive. Diplomatic negotiation? Too uncertain. Running away? Too cowardly. Maya stopped pacing and faced him directly. No, the best approach was to let you come to us, let you reveal everything about yourselves, and then use that information to systematically dismantle your entire civilization. You cannot be serious. Oh, I'm completely serious. Right now, human xenopsychologists are analyzing your species' command protocols. Our engineers are studying your technology through the virus feedback data. Our military strategists are developing countermeasures for every tactic you've revealed. She pulled out another device. This one looked different from the first. More complex. More dangerous. But the real genius, Maya continued, isn't what we're doing to you. It's what we're doing for everyone else. Before he could ask what she meant, the device projected a holographic display showing dozens of different alien species. Vex Karan recognized them immediately. They were all former Corvani conquests. Every species your empire has ever subjugated is about to receive a complete intelligence package, Maya announced cheerfully. Technical specifications for your ships, psychological profiles of your commanders, tactical analyses of your standard invasion procedures, and, most importantly, the hologram shifted to show detailed schematics of Corvani anatomy and physiology, complete biological data on your species' weaknesses. Vex Karan stared at the display in growing horror. If former conquest species had access to this information— Rebellions, he whispered. Oh, not just rebellions, Maya corrected. Coordinated, simultaneous, strategically planned liberation movements across your entire empire, all happening at exactly the same time, using tactics specifically designed to exploit your species' predictable responses. She pressed another button, and the hologram showed a timeline. Vex Karan's translator was still offline, but the visual information was clear enough. Coordinated strikes across dozens of worlds, all scheduled to begin within the next few standard cycles. You see, Commander, the beautiful thing about being underestimated is that people tell you their secrets. They reveal their strategies. They show you their weaknesses because they assume you're too primitive to do anything about it. Maya's expression became almost sympathetic. Your empire made the same mistake that every bully makes. You got so used to picking on smaller, weaker civilizations that you forgot there might be consequences. The singing from below had stopped, replaced by the sound of celebration. Vex Karan could hear laughter, cheering, and what sounded like impromptu parties breaking out throughout the lower levels. They're celebrating, he observed numbly. Of course they are. Today is the day humanity officially graduated from potential victim to galactic power broker. Thanks to you, we now have enough intelligence to reshape the entire political structure of this sector. Maya sat back down beside him, her demeanor shifting to something almost compassionate. I know this is a lot to process, Commander. Your entire worldview is probably collapsing right about now?" He nodded weakly. It was exactly what was happening. "But here's the thing," she continued. "This doesn't have to be the end for your people. Humans aren't interested in conquest or revenge. We're interested in cooperation." "Cooperation?" The word felt strange in his mouth. "Think about it. Your species is incredibly strong, physically resilient, and has excellent military discipline. Those are valuable traits. Meanwhile, humans excel at innovation, adaptation, and strategic thinking. Imagine what we could accomplish working together instead of fighting." Maya pulled out yet another device. How many did she have? And showed him another holographic display. This one depicted various scenarios of human Corvani cooperation. Joint exploration missions, shared technological development, collaborative research projects. "Your empire is about to face the biggest crisis in its history," she said matter-of-factly. "Multiple simultaneous rebellions, loss of strategic advantage, complete exposure of military secrets. You're going to need allies." Vexcaron studied the scenarios with growing interest. The logic was sound, but my people would never accept partnership with a species they intended to conquer. Maya shrugged. Maybe not. But individuals might, especially individuals smart enough to recognize when the old way of doing things isn't working anymore. She stood up and extended her hand toward him, a human gesture he somehow understood meant cooperation or agreement. "So here's my question for you, Commander Vexcaron. You came here to measure humanity, to decide if we were worth conquering. Well, you've seen our weak side, one isolated scientist on a damaged station. And you've seen our strong side, the systematic dismantling of your entire invasion force." Maya's smile was no longer predatory or mocking. It was hopeful. "Now you have to choose. Do you go back to your superiors and recommend that the Corvani Empire continue its futile attempt to conquer humanity? Or do you recognize that there's a better way forward?" Vexcaron stared at her extended hand for a long moment. Everything he had believed about strength, about conquest, about the natural order of the universe had been systematically deconstructed over the past hour. His species had spent centuries being the apex predator. But Maya was right. Humans weren't prey. They were something far more dangerous and far more valuable. They were partners. Slowly, carefully, he reached out with one of his massive claws and gently grasped her small human hand. "Dr. Maya Fortuna," he said, managing to pronounce her name correctly despite his damaged translator. "I believe my assessment is complete." "And?" Vexcaron looked around at the ruined station, thought about his crippled fleet, considered the rebellions that were about to tear apart his empire, and felt something he had never experienced before. Relief. "I believe," he said slowly, "that the Corvani Empire has much to learn from humanity." Maya's grin could have lit up the entire station. "Commander, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." From the depths of the station came a new sound. Not celebration this time, but the organized bustle of people getting back to work. Scientists returning to their research, engineers beginning repairs, administrators coordinating with other human colonies. The sound of a species that had just proven it belonged among the stars. Vexcaron listened to the activity and realized something profound. He had come here expecting to find a species ready for conquest. Instead, he had found teachers, partners, and possibly the salvation of his own people. The human had asked him to choose between their weak side and their strong side, but sitting there in the ruins of what should have been an easy victory holding the hand of a creature who had just reshaped galactic politics with nothing but intelligence and preparation, he finally understood the truth. Humanity didn't have a weak side. They had a side that looked weak until you realized it was the strongest thing in the universe. The absolute refusal to give up, combined with the intelligence to turn every disadvantage into an advantage and every enemy into a teacher. As Commander Vex Karen sat there contemplating the future, not just of his mission, but of his entire species, he couldn't help but think that perhaps being conquered by humanity wouldn't be such a terrible fate after all. At least, not the way they did it. With patience, intelligence, and an offer of partnership instead of domination. The beast had measured her up, all right. And she had measured right back.